Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Check out our large assortment of logo merch and our lifestyle collection as well. Just head over to abvnetwork.com and click on shop. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we will talk to Bo Cumberland about his bourbon journey. My name is McNew. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Cailee Baker, Adam Stump, and Bo Cumberland.
Hey, gang, what's up?
Hey, everybody.
Hey. What's up, Steve?
So, yes, it'll be fun to talk to Bo about, going from, literally no one in the industry to the Martin Scorsese of the bourbon film world. So we'll talk to him, though, after the break about that. For right now, Cailee said there's something she wanted to talk about. What is that, Cailee?
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, our head distiller had quit, and the other distiller was there for a week before he left as well. I won't get into that, but I want to talk about a specific incident that kind of made me really realize it just kind of hit me. And I knew, of course, how dangerous the distilling industry really could be. But it kind of shocked me when it happened right in front of me. And, I was instructed to leave the building real fast, and it was kind of scary. But basically the plates inside of our column, the little, mechanisms that keep the vapor going through and nothing else coming through, had fallen through. And so grain was getting up into the column and building pressure, and it was getting bad really fast. And I was sitting there doing admin work for Andy, and had just gone to go print something, and Andy was like, "Get the fuck out of here." And I was like, okay, because the still is right next to the printer at the distillery. And we weren't at the office in Clarksville, so I was like, all right. I ran outside, and Andy ended up releasing some of the pressure, and it, hot mash spilled all over him. And I was like, oh God, it got scary pretty fast. And I said after, I was like, I'm glad everybody's okay. Nothing happened. We got out of there, let the vapors get out and all that. Obviously we had to scratch that mash, and, it just kind of hit me. I was like, oh yeah, it really is a dangerous industry, and you really do have to be careful. And I just wondered if anybody else had any stories like that, like where it kind of hit you, like, oh shit.
I wonder if Adam Stump does.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if there's.
He does. Oh yeah.
In the industry.
I've got one. We it's really similar to that. So we had just gotten a new still in, and we'd run water. We'd done a citric acid run. We did another water run. We were on our first grain run. It was a 500-gallon pot. And then we were running an offset 4-plate whiskey column next to it. And we were running, and I noticed like a little bit of puking in the bottom of the column, like in where the reflux collects at the bottom. I was like, oh, that's not good. And my dad was in the back of the distillery, and I went back there, and I was helping him. I think he was putting new belts on the grain mill or whatever. And I came back up, and I noticed that it had moved up to the next plate. I was like, oh, that sucks. So I went around back, and I shut the steam off at that point. Well, I came back around the front, and I just got by the pot, got to that column, and the manway blew off. So it released about 300 gallons of boiling mash. It hit the peak of our building. It went through the attic fan. It hit the peak, which is like 35 feet in the air. Luckily, no person was hurt. We had a couple distillery cats that, unfortunately didn't make it after that. But It's a crazy situation, and it was all because in that case the still was designed improperly, and there was no way for the reflux to ever get back to the column. Only things could travel out, and the pressure relief valve was set at like 8 or 9 psi or something like that. And obviously, with pot stills that were building that much pressure, it's not a good situation. But yeah, it's crazy, and those things can happen like in the blink of an eye, because my face was in front of that hatch. I mean, a second and a half, 2 seconds before that happened or whatever.
Amazing. So,
Yeah, so
as bad as that was, it could have been so much worse. So yeah,
it's bizarre.
In reality, you had more luck than bad luck that day.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
Andy had to run home and change because he had the boiling mash all over his leg. I was like, "Are you okay?" Yeah.
Adam had to run home and change too, just his pants.
Underwear.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's been through a lot overseas, so I feel like, getting some hot mash on him is kind of not really most of his.
Not me. I shit myself.
Now, Bo, you don't own a distillery, but you're around all kinds of moonshiners, filming documentaries and all kinds of stuff. You've may or may not have messed with that kind of stuff yourself before. Have you ever been in a situation where you had a problem with a still?
Well, I don't really know if it was so. For the first 5 or 6 years of my may or may not be illicit distilling career, I just used like a little 3-gallon still, on top of my stove or whatever, and
sure,
it's always kind of pretty set, set it and go kind of thing. But one day I had some mash running, and for some reason the pot just started shaking, and it's like this gurgling stuff, but it was just shaking. So I had no reflux over in the thump or anything, but it was just shaking, and it's never done that before. So I just shut it off, and I didn't know if it was about to blow up or what. So I'd never had that before. And I mean, I talked to some of my distiller friends, and they were like, "Oh, it doesn't make sense if
haunted." Yeah.
Yeah. So I could have died, but
you could have died, but you lived.
Yeah. But I lived.
I don't own a distillery either. Never had anything that, that I can say that is like that, other than when I was a kid. I was a 70s kid, I guess, as a young kid. And I remember my dad, this is a 70s thing. Gosh, I don't think anybody does this anymore. I hope they don't. It's a terrible move. So my dad gets the barbecue going, and he realized he doesn't have a strong enough fire. So of course, what does he get? He needs to get that fire going again, so you can get the coals prepared to. So he grabs the gasoline. He's got the metal gas can, goes to pour it on there, and that literally fired up there and blew that, like shot that like a projectile out of his hands. He's holding this metal gas can with gasoline, and it shoots 40 feet behind. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I was just a little kid, of course. I saw this, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, this is why I hated barbecue. I was a guy. If you would ask me at age 16, would you like barbecue? I would say it's terrible because
it's terrifying.
Well, my parents, went from using gasoline on a briquette type of thing, a Weber type of grill, to gas, and then everything's well done. So they're always super worried about foodborne illnesses. So everything had to be well done. So you get chicken, and it's just like
it's just crispy
Christmas
hard.
vacation, like the turkey. Yeah. Horrible. Yeah. It took me till I could get out and spend my own money on real barbecue. Then I liked it. Now I'm pretty good at that stuff myself. McNew, anything from you? Anything dangerous, fire, pressure, anything like that?
No, so I've always just worked in an office of some type, but my old job did make me drive to Chicago a lot. And driving in Chicago is not for the faint of heart, especially when you're already a shitty driver. Like, it's amazing to wreck more in Chicago.
This is true. McNew's on a heck of a streak right here. She's got a streak that's gone on from. Yeah, I guess we shouldn't say, but since 16, every winter she's had an accident, and she hasn't had one this winter yet. So
I didn't this winter, so don't fucking.
This could
no Thursday.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
okay,
there's still time.
Spring. It'll be winter again next week.
Hey, on this topic, I do have a question for Adam. Maybe he can answer this question.
I doubt it.
So yeah, no, you can. So I'm not going to say which distillery I was at, but I was at this distillery one day, and I was talking to some of the people that work there, and the still, they had it running, and it had, I guess they didn't start the the cooling or anything until, it gets ready to start coming out. Well, we were talking, not really paying attention. Well, all of a sudden we all started smelling this.
Uh-oh.
It was super strong, right?
Yeah.
So they run in the back, and there's steam just coming out. It had been kind of pouring out probably for 10 or 15 minutes. So it was so nauseating in there. You would get just a headache just kind of breathing in. So my question is, at that point, are you in any kind of danger?
Oh, yeah. Shut the lights off and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, run.
Pardon my language, but yeah, that's
that time they just said, "Bo in." They're like, "Bo, go do this, and this."
Bo, run here. You're fine. So yeah, I've always wondered like how much danger that was that day, but it was like you could see there's like cloudy in there. It was a good bit of.
Anytime you smell something that's like smells bad, and you can kind of tell it smells bad, even if like there's some days that I'll walk in and I have some allergies and I can't really smell, but I'll kind of smell like the that gassy kind of smell. I'm like, oh shit, something's wrong.
Was that me or is that the still? You're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, both. Think about it like if liquor, if it's 100 proof, that's when you can light it on fire, where it's over 100 proof, right? Because it's 50% alcohol.
Right.
Well, the same thing happens in air. If the concentration of alcohol gets high enough, then the air is flammable. It just needs an ignition source at that point. And if you can see it, it's definitely high enough concentration.
Oh, there you go.
See, I could have died twice, Steve.
You could have died. See,
you could have also gotten drunk by breathing. So that's pretty cool too.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Well, the story would never happen that we're going to hear today, Bo's bourbon journey. So we'll get to that in just a minute here. We do have to drink. What is everyone drinking? Let's start with Cailee. Cailee, what do you got there?
I have a bottle that I picked up while I was down in Florida from Fort Myers from Mr. Tom's Spirits, otherwise known as List Distillery. That's just their regular bourbon whiskey.
Okay.
Let's see how it goes.
See what we got here. Okay. Mike Muffle, I think, happened there.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot going on. I'll go next. I've got the Blackback Sour Mash Corn Whiskey. This is from the Alpha series of our friends here at Silverback Distillery in Afton, Virginia. So here we go.
Oh, good.
That was really good. That's going to be tough to beat. Adam, can you beat that?
Yes, I can, Steve.
Here we go.
I'm gonna. This is the only new bottle I've got. This is one of the Heaven Hill Bourbon Experience bottle your own bottles.
Okay. No, not enough there. Not enough there. Bo, you're next.
Like the confidence, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since this is my show and I can do what I want, I'm drinking from my own infinity bottle. So.
Okay. All right.
No, I can already tell it's going to be nothing.
That was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that was good enough to win most times, but I apologize. I just brought the cannon tonight. My God. We probably had a bunch of people tuned out because they're like, this is too loud. I can't.
Their ears are hurting.
Right. Yeah. All right. McNew, you're last but not least. Can you beat what I threw out there?
I'm going to try to. So I have this pick from Indiana Bourbon Society. It's from Indiana Whiskey Co. in South Bend. I don't really know a lot about them. It's not that great. But Larry Bird's on the freaking sticker, so that's cool. So we'll see.
Oh!
Winner.
I think that was enough. I think she got me. How about that?
No question. Take a seat.
No. There was a question.
No question.
It was close. But I'm feeling generous, so I'm going to give that to McNew, I think.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
Yeah. Cheers, gang.
Cheers.
I feel like I should have been on this Chromebook the whole time because Friday I had a good one that you guys did not hear from my freaking iPad. So maybe.
Yeah. Thank you for finally joining us in the 21st century. We appreciate it. All right, well, we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking to Bo. We'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley of the ABV Network. Let's talk about the people who make this show happen. First up is Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Company founder Andy Lang started distilling as a hobby while serving his country as an elite Green Beret. Andy distilled all over the world during his time in the military and brought this passion back to him in the U.S. when he returned home. A visit to Leatherwood combines Andy Lang's unique distilled spirits and a museum of artifacts from his time serving the U.S. Share a drink with a fallen soldier at their bar where you can grab an acrylic bio off the wall that celebrates the individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect his or her country. They will also ship their distilled spirits directly to you, so check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course, a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at neelyfamilydistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
Hi, this is Rick Brunner, and you are listening to the Bourbon Daily.
Shouldn't it be the legend?
Maybe.
Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we have Bo Cumberland and his bourbon journey.
Yes, we do. So, Bo, tell us a little bit about your bourbon journey, and then spend as much time as you need talking about the time your pants fell down in front of Chet Zoller's house.
Oh, Jesus, God.
It's a pivotal moment.
It's a highlight reel.
Yes.
So my bourbon journey really started with you. So everybody kind of probably knows this, but I was filming in the moonshine industry before we met, and I kind of ran across your stuff, the Bourbon Daily and the Bourbon Zeppelin and all that. So, and I really, really liked a lot of the little snippets that you had in there, just little bourbon nuggets and stuff. So I was interested in making little film, video vignette kind of things out of those. So that's how I kind of reached out to you, and you had grander ideas. So, that's kind of how I got into it. And I had no connections in the bourbon industry. I had no, I was very interested in the bourbon industry, but I had no connections or anything. So that's kind of how I, got into it, just through you. And we of course did the Kindred Spirits film, and that's, where I met Royce and, all those folks. And so, I would say though, I've gone from there to now I live in Kentucky. I do a lot of filming still with you and Susie for the Bourbon Sasquatch, and I do some stuff on my own, like the little 5-minute distillery tours. And
gosh darn, I keep forgetting to watch that video you sent me.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll talk about that today.
Okay.
But I love, kind of what we do, Steve, and you and I talk about this just about every time we kind of get together. But I have the best job in the world because, my job that I do for money and pay and whatever, it pays the bills, and it's great. And it affords me the opportunity to literally in my spare time, I get to play around in rick houses and distilleries, and I get to film what I want. And I'm lucky enough that you and I are on the same page as far as we don't want anybody else to own our stuff. So what we film is what we want, and it's how we want to do it, and we don't compromise on that. And, the downside of that is we may not get the distribution that we want or this or that, but I don't care about that. It's just as long as we can still get to have fun going to rick houses and drinking bourbon and filming whatever. I'm all about that.
That is why I like working with Bo, because I'm difficult to work with. I get that, but I just have this standard where I just can't work for someone else. So if someone came to us and if it's just an unbelievable amount, I'll give you $100 million. Then I guess we'll go to work for someone and we'll be told. But if it's like, throw out a big amount, $1 million, I'll give you $1 million. But you got to do this, and it's going to be fake, and we'll tell you exactly how it's going to be. We're going to film at Adam Stump's place, but he and his assistant distiller are going to get in a fist fight one day. I wouldn't do it. I don't need the money. I'd rather have the fun and capture the real stuff. There's enough real stories out there that I don't want to be involved in any of this fake stuff. And even if it meant a life-changing type of money, my life's good enough. I'm doing okay. I have a fun life. I don't need to be rich and famous. I'd rather be able to, go in and do what we do. Because when we come in, it's the greatest feeling in the world. When Bo and I are filming, we're helping out that company, that distillery, in ways that they can't even do themselves. Even if they funded their own movie, people would be like, well, yeah, that's just like a big commercial for your distillery. What we're doing is we're coming in and allowing them to tell their story. We have no financial agreement between any of the distilleries we're working with. They don't pay us to be in the film or anything like that. We're filming stories that we want to film. And to me, it's the purest thing going. And there's a historical perspective too to what we're doing. I think what Bo and I are doing is important. And I don't know if people will realize that, maybe not even during our lifetime, but as you look back at what was the distilling industry like in the 2020s or before that, we filmed some stuff. I think that it becomes important in what we're doing. So it's kind of a cool thing. Great honor for sure. We do like to go round robin with this and let anybody ask questions. So Cailee, we're going to start with you. Anything you'd like to ask Bo, of course, as our film guy, or anything you just want to ask him in general, now's the time.
Yeah. I want to ask what was your favorite project you ever worked on?
That's a hard question to answer because
your favorite child, Bo, right now.
Well, so they're all kind of special to me, and I'll highlight three of them.
Okay.
So
I'll take a top three.
The first one obviously is Kindred Spirits, which was our first full-length feature film that we did, and the reason that one's special to me is that was my introduction into the bourbon industry. So I had no idea who Royce Neely or Neely Family Distillery was. I got to meet those guys, and to this day, I have a special relationship with those guys because of that. And I got to meet people like Dixon Dedman, and I mean, just a plethora of those kind of craft or those kind of folks. And so it was, and at the time, I really kind of had no idea the differences in, say, a Jim Beam and a Royce Neely, or Neely Family Distillery. So it was interesting to see those dynamics. So that was my introduction into the kind of the bourbon industry. So that one's always kind of special to me. And then obviously the second feature film that we did, Blending is Trending, was kind of special because I feel like Steve and I got to do things for that film that even the biggest bourbon fans in the world that have been bourbon fans forever don't get to do. So, who else gets to have basically a one-on-one sit down with Freddie Noe, and he, dials up something on the fly. And I mean, so just things like that, I got to spend some time with Al Young, just, talking Four Roses. I mean, and that.
Yeah. He's probably told that story to 500,000 bourbon fans throughout his lifetime in small, groups and dinners and stuff like that. But, is that all captured in one place? We got that. We got Al Young, the great Al Young, Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Famer, telling the story of Four Roses in our movie. How great is that? Last film project he ever appeared in.
Yeah.
Wow. It's powerful. Yeah.
So there's things like that. And then the most recent one, the one that I'll highlight, the one that Steve said, crap, I have to watch that film. So my next venture, my next kind of addition to just filming and being behind the camera is Steve and I work and Susie, the Sasquatch, we're working on a product called the World of Bourbon. So it's actually me stepping out. So I'm going to be kind of the host of this show. and I'm terrible at it because I'm used to being behind the camera. So it's very awkward. I make things awkward, and sometimes on purpose. Sometimes I'm just an awkward guy. So but I think it's all in good fun. But I think it's going to be good for me because this show will be, I mean, everything bourbon, not just distilleries, but people that make bourbon candies, people that have their own bourbon tour companies, people that, do bourbon barrel aged food or coffees or coffee shops that sell bourbon. It's going to be like run the whole gamut of, all that kind of bourbon industry stuff. So
but you know whose eyes this goes through then, Bo? The eyes of the bourbon fan, because you're not the super polished TV guy, the person that is so smooth and all this. No, you're coming in as a fan of what they're doing, and I think it works. I think it works. So yeah.
But I think it's going to be fun. I need help kind of with that side, the social side, because I'm just used to being behind the scenes and everything. So I think it'll be good, and the more I do it, the better I'll get. But yeah, it'll just be fun.
I like it because I get to be behind the camera and film stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then watch Bo have to redo take after take. Something that he's used to doing with me. And now he gets to see. Well, I mean, like a Beam, we did 40 takes of one.
Yeah. So we have one episode shot, and I'm trying to talk Steve into let's get that out there so people can see it, and it'll be kind of a teaser as to what's to come. And even like the intro where I know exactly like everything about myself, we had to do like 40 takes because I'm just terrible at this. So, but I think it's going to be really good. It's going to be really fun. And the idea of this came from a project that we were going to do a couple of years ago, and it just never kind of came to fruition. And I thought, man, this was just such a good idea. It's terrible to let something like this go. So, that's kind of how it came about. So I just think it's going to be something a little bit different than we've done in the past because, the films that we do and stuff like that, they're kind of directed towards the bourbon industry. But this is going to touch on every kind of fringe industry that ties into bourbon, if that makes sense. So I'm super, super excited about this.
Yeah, it's cool. I just put an alarm on my phone, so I keep forgetting that. I've been told Bo I'd watch this like 5 days ago. So there's an alarm on my phone now to go off. I'll watch it tomorrow for sure.
And the other thing too is I just want to point out these episodes that it's going to be kind of web based or whatever. So the episodes are 15, 20 minutes top. So it's not you're not sitting there for hours and hours watching these things, but I think it's action packed. It's got enough stuff in it that it stays pretty action packed for those 20 minutes or so.
Adam, what do you want to know from Bo?
Oh man, I'll leave the softball till the end. But I would say, how about what's the most authentic thing you feel like you've seen and portrayed on film so far?
The most authentic.
Because bourbon in general.
I know the answer, Bo. I want Bo to answer, but then I'm going to remind him of something that we filmed that is authentic. It's not out there, and I want it to be out there. I want it. The person we filmed it with doesn't want it to be out there, but it's too good. It has to be out there.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah. Well, I'll jump in and then you can tell. Well, do you want to come up with something first and then I'll tell the story?
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, to me, the most authentic film that we've ever filmed, that I've ever been part of, we're working on a documentary about Neely Family Distillery, and we do individual interviews, we do family interviews, we do all different kinds of interviews. And we got Roy Neely, and we had him talking about his son and what does the success mean. And this is a hard-nosed guy. He worked in construction, his entire career, dealing with crews, these are people that, fist fights on the jobs. This shit happens. This guy is as tough as nails. And we get him talking about his son, and he breaks down and cries.
Yeah.
How proud he is. You don't get any more authentic than that, cool. And then he's like, turn off the camera, don't film it. And it's like, we have to. To me, because I'm not making this movie for Michelle and Roy Neely. I'm making it for 5 generations down the road when they want to go, what did it mean to the family when Royce Neely started this business? That's that moment that we need to capture. It has to be in there.
Yeah.
Even if Roy doesn't like it, it has to be in there because that movie's not for him. That's not why we're filming it. We're not filming it, for anybody who's currently here. We're filming it for down the road. So,
well, that's good. I'm glad you said that because I do remember that, but I'm also thinking of times like for Blending is Trending. We spent Jim Rutledge. We had the opportunity to interview Jim Rutledge.
He's a great guy,
and
yeah.
I mean honestly, for probably a little over 2 hours, that guy talked and gave us dates, and it was April 16th that they had this meeting and this happened, and it was 1962 and this happened, which caused. I mean, he knew all of these dates and every. I'm 47 years old, and when you ask me specific questions like when did this happen, it's like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. I have no idea. But this guy came, he was so passionate about what he was talking about. I mean, he remembered every little detail. And so, I don't know, times like that when I'm interviewing and like he's talking about with Roy and another project we're working on for them is kind of capturing Papa Sizemore, capturing stories that he tells. And I mean, just to hear, to me, in some instances, you can see where these people are. I mean, they're just happy that people care enough to tell, allow them to tell their stories, and that kind of stuff is what gets me. Is Steve and I kind of joke or talk all the time about how we refuse to put out the film that says here's the ABCs of bourbon, here's the this, because that crap's out there 10,000 times. But what we want to put out is Roy Neely breaking down, talking about Neely Family Distillery, or Papa talking about his crazy story. So 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when he's not around, people will. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, well, Bo's taking a pause there to get the dog under control. I just
20 years.
I was just saying, I see this myself. My dad was a policeman, and he's a guy who was on the streets for over 20 years. And whenever there would be a party, because he was a good storyteller, he would get around and no matter what, someone asked, tell us those police stories, and he would tell all these great stories. And I got to be honest, I grew up hearing those, and I would roll my eyes, by the end, because I'd heard them so many times. Here we're doing this again. You know what? If I had that captured, I'd watch that once a week now. And I try to remember them, and I don't remember the story. He would have the details and the name of the person, and all this crazy stuff of getting in fights with suspects and chasing people down and all just crazy things. And it's just gone. So that's why the Papa Sizemore thing's a cool thing.
Yeah, so that to me is kind of the most authentic stuff, is when people get to sit down and I mean, Jim, for instance, he's got his new thing going, and anytime people are interviewing him, that's kind of what he gets to talk about. But I wonder how many times he gets to sit down and kind of tell his whole Four Roses story and give those details. So that's kind of what's pretty special to me. And like I've already mentioned, but we get to sit down and talk to Al Young, and it's like, for me, if we had known that was going to be the last opportunity we had to kind of sit and talk with him, we probably would have talked to him for 6 more hours. But you never know that stuff.
Yeah. So McNew, what do you want to ask?
Okay, you guys got emotional. That's so sweet. But Bo, you were opening an infinity bottle. I don't have one because I don't grasp the concept, but I like it. What goes into yours? Like, are you just doing everything you ever open, or is it a weeded? Is it a rye? Is it craft? Is it something special? What's going into your infinity bottle? Because there's so many ways to do them.
Well, what I like to do is I like to use it as an opportunity to help me try to figure out if I'm good at blending or not. So it started off being, if I had just like one, not even like a whole pour of a bottle left, I would dump it in. And so I didn't even touch it till I built up a whole bottle's worth of that, right? So then I tasted it, and it actually even has some scotch in there, some Irish whiskey. It has a bunch of stuff in there. So the first time I tasted it, it was terrible. It was terrible.
I think most of them are. That's why I've never done one.
But so then I start to go, okay, what's terrible about it? And so I kind of figured out, and it's like, okay, it would be better if it was a lot sweeter. So then from that point on, I would, like if I bought, say, Woodford Doubled Oak or whatever, which is kind of more sweet, I would put a little, half a shot or so in there, and then I would start adding more sweet bourbons, and then it would get to the point where it's like, okay, it's really, really sweet. So now let me put some spice in there. So I've been kind of just I've had this bottle probably 4 or 5 years now. So I like to see if I can keep it kind of in this certain range. So I'll start to taste it, and if it tastes, too spicy or too whatever, then I'll kind of, so that's what I use it for.
All right.
That's kind of cool.
Adam, last question we're going to give to you, your softball. What do you want to know about?
Well, Steve, I already asked a question of Bo, but I'll ask one more. Bo, I've got this crazy question in my mind. Could you explain your most embarrassing moment, maybe, in the bourbon journey so far?
I don't know if I really have one. It's been pretty. No, so I really think people get tired of hearing this story.
I don't think they do.
No, we don't.
So we're filming for Blending is Trending. So we're at Ched Zoller's house, this thing, I wish this story does it no justice, because you guys,
gated community, manicured
gated
lawns.
community, probably $1 million house, just so we're
Sorry,
filming.
who's Ched Zeller?
Trey Zoller's dad, but he's a bourbon historian himself. He writes books
Yeah.
and stuff like
No,
that.
I know that.
Oh, okay.
So he,
Well, the audience might not know. So that was a good.
Here.
That was a good question.
yeah, that was good.
I get into that stuff, a lot, because sometimes I interview people on multiple shows. Like now we're doing this chatting with, and I'll ask them so many questions. I'll be like, I've already told you that, and it's like, I'm not asking for me. I know this. I'm asking as an interviewer because we're doing a show that might have a different audience. So yeah, I have to break the fourth wall sometimes when I'm doing interviews. Yeah. But go ahead, Bo, with Chet Zoller.
So we're, packing up, getting ready to leave, and they're, he's thanking us for our time. We're thanking him for whatever. So we're walking out the door, and I have like my big case of lights, and my tripods are on top of that. My cameras are on top of that.
Briefcase.
Yeah, he has like, a sheet of paper.
I got a clipboard, basically.
And we're walking out, and I start to feel, I have these like basketball shorts on, just like drawstring. And I start to feel them go down, like they start to slip a little bit, and I'm like, oh shit. But I can make it to the car, no big deal. So every step I take, they start falling further and further down, to the point that I'm like, shit, they're coming down. So I spread my legs as far as I can to keep them on. And
There's Chet and his wife, by the way, on the porch waving.
They're behind me, kind of waving. So here's the thing. Steve's view of this whole thing is just my face, all my equipment, and like my shorts. Their view of it is my butt.
His ass.
Like,
And by the way, it made him. He wears like boxer briefs, so they've got a legging. It made it past. You saw creamy white thighs. It made it past that. It got caught at the knees. Is where he caught the shorts at the knees. But you could see this man in his full underwear.
I'm literally begging Steve, please help, please help. And my help, what I mean is, please take the equipment so I can pull my pants up. But he's like, I'm not pulling your pants up. So yeah, we wave, get going, and 2 days later I get this cease and desist letter from them saying never come back to their house again.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we did some follow-up stuff. And I asked him, can I get your address? I want to, I lost it. Can I get it? I want to send you a copy of the, DVD. And so, no response. Jen Zoller's never responded to me again. I can't blame him though. After seeing that, I feel like we need to do a reenactment of that as one of our video projects and have, commentary, have people playing Chet and his wife. And I don't even want them to look that much like it. I want them to look where they're poorly, in like a bald thing and stuff.
So I'm going to say though, like Steve did give you some grace where he did not whip out his phone and start filming because he could have.
True.
I think he was trying to get to it.
I was like, help me. I just had this envision in my mind of this man with his pants caught at his knees, and he wants me to walk up behind him and gently slide his trousers up for him.
Well, it didn't occur to you just to grab the shit in his arms? That didn't occur to you?
Because I thought, he could have set it down. He wasn't thinking, could he have just set it on the ground?
McNew, you know this. Do you remember when I first kind of joined the network and Steve and I were starting to do, you remember me and him, we were like always kind of button heads.
We used to fight a lot. Yeah.
Bickering all the time, yeah.
And I think y'all used to say like we were like this old married couple or whatever because we were bickering.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of along in that time period, and so I feel like he was not helping me just out of spite. So he could have, and he knew what I was asking. He was just trying to not help me.
This is true. Yeah, and you guys had that show. Justine was on it too. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
But you guys would just grumpy old man it together all the time.
Yeah. We're past that though. Yeah, we're good now.
Yeah.
We
it was
definitely
funny for everybody else.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. There's Bo's bourbon journey all the way through the famous dropping of the shorts. So yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Cailee, we're going to wrap this one up by talking about where we can find everyone. We're starting with you.
Hi, you can find me at Leatherwood Distillery on Friday and Saturday nights and over on Instagram at Cailee Baker and at the Bourbon Bakers.
All right, Bo.
I am on Facebook and Instagram under Bourbon Sasquatch, both of those under my journey through the American Spirit. So check those out.
Adam.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Stumpy Spirits or stumpyspirits.com.
McNew.
I am on Instagram at McNew ABV.
All right, for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. Previous shows, blogs, our shop, so much more, abvnetwork.com. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review. That includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And if you like what we're doing, we ask that you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theABVNetwork.
All right, great job today, gang. For audience, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Peace. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.
you.